Hi, everybody. Before we start this episode, I just wanted to give a shout out to our guest that we have tonight, Louis Burns.
He's the reason that a lot of you are probably listening to this. He sent in a message about our podcast to the Nerdist Community Corkboard, right?
Yeah, just a really super nice thing that nobody asked him to do, and we didn't even ask him to be a guest yet. And
he even forgot to put his name on it.
He did. Chris Hardwick called him a guy who forgot to write his name in the email.
We just want to say thank you to the guy who forgot to write his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks,
Cheers
Louis,
to you.
Guy
so
Burns.
here's his episode that he was on.
Good news, everyone.
Then where are we now?
Do you have idiots on your planet?
You're obviously confused.
It's me, Zoidberg, remember, from high school?
Hello, you're listening to the Slurmcast, a podcast for no reason. Today we will be discussing Futurama Season 1, Episode 10, A Flight to Remember, with your host, Tommy Roulette,
How's it going?
Pete Woodward,
That's me.
and I'm Rick Horchie. Joining us today is our special guest, Mr. Louis Burns. How are you doing, Louis?
Ahoy, hoy.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I love being here already.
Already?
I have something to ask you right off the bat.
Wait, I have something to ask
Wait,
Peter right
hang
off
on.
the bat. What about Purple Rain?
It's a classic American film made by a really genius artist who is sadly gone too soon
You
due
Well
to the
said.
scourge of drugs.
Horchie, you do work with a lot of pesticides. Are you sure you're not talking about work?
Oh yeah, when it rains down,
Yeah.
The Purple Rain usually comes out of his boombox. So, Louis,
Yes.
just say the name of this television program that we're talking about.
Futurama.
God damn it!
You're the only one.
There's no. I played you the thing.
Ram?
I know what you played me.
There's
but,
no RAM. There's no RAM.
unless you're from the Midwest. But I want that to be sort of a show starter from now on.
Yeah. Ask everyone how to pronounce the show,
Yeah.
and we'll find your
Soulmate.
Futurama
Oh,
soulmate.
I can pronounce it. Slurmcast. So, Louis,
Yes, sir.
here's a little
Yeah,
bit
sure.
of just tantalizing trivia for our listener. You were in a band with Tom when he was in high school, and you might have been in high school. Were you in high school?
I was just out of high school. He was
and
just in high school.
I
Related to
was almost out of
Futurama,
high
you guys
school.
had a robot in your band.
We did have Rupert D.
A Robert?
A Rupert.
Robot.
A robot.
A robot.
A robot.
Erotic, a robot.
As Bender would say, a robot, and his name was Rupert D. Robot.
He was tragically killed, wasn't he?
He was tragically killed with a switchblade knife by a rogue fan.
Yeah.
It was.
Although I don't think he was
No.
a fan.
It was a member of another band we played with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jumped up
it was
on
a while
stage
ago.
and just
And then
stabbed him.
And then after he was killed, he was put as a deflated balloon in a coffin guitar case on stage.
Yeah, we had a funeral.
Was that the show where we were all dressed up as zombies and every other word was brains? And
I think so.
People
We
got
changed-
really pissed off at
I think we
us.
changed every word
Look,
in every song to brains.
To be fair,
Yeah.
I never saw one Fun Machine show where the entire audience wasn't pissed off.
I've
at
never
you by
been
the
in
end
a
of the
room where
set.
everyone wasn't pissed off at Louis.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean,
that's very true. I am extremely annoying.
I am right now. I'm really hoping that it's carrying through the digital
Ether?
sound waves or what? Yeah, the ether.
It's
into
funny
people.
you
into
bring
people's
up the
hearts.
Fun Machine with Lewis, but we didn't. Bring
But
that
now
up
with Dan.
last episode with Dan, who was also in the Fun Machine.
F- 'em.
Actually, Dan was in another band with you two.
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah, I
Louis.
was in a band with Dan too.
So I've managed to not be in a band with any of you.
Our
I'm
murder
really
was
all the
drummer
better
was
off for
also
it.
murdered on stage, stabbed by a member of another band.
We haven't heard from Glenn Glaze lately. Maybe we have a new episode coming out tomorrow. Maybe he'll chime in.
So speaking of Dan, you used to live with him, and he told us on the episode he was on that he had seen Futurama. He wasn't really that into it, but when you guys lived together, you watched it so much that eventually it grew on him, and it became, one of his favorite shows, as it is for a lot of us in our friend group.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up.
He's also kind of ashamed. He kind of was ashamed that you...
Well, okay, so
let's talk about that,
I was quite pissed off at myself for, in retrospect, that I didn't know about this show. And
well, let me ask you, how did you come into it? Like, you were watching it before he was.
Funny you should mention that. I'm about to say that.
Hey, do me a favor. Tell me a story about how you got into Futurama.
Sure thing.
Tell me about how you're going to tell me about it.
Anyway, so we were living together, and I believe we got Comedy Central or whatever the show was being rerun on, and I watched one show, and I can't remember if it was the first show or not, but it was definitely part of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And just by watching that one show, I ran out to the local electronics store and bought the entirety of the first season.
Why didn't you just
by
order it
one-
off Amazon?
No,
Amazon
that's
Prime.
good because
That was
well,
before
he
the
wanted
internet.
it immediately.
I know.
But up until that point, the story you were telling sounded like kind of bullshit compared to the story Dan told. But now that there's the purchasing
But
of
he
the
didn't
first
tell
season
this
on
story
DVD.
about Lewis.
Exactly. Dan told a slightly different story.
He
So-
said he already had them all.
So there's
No.
When
Lewis.
Dan moved in with him, he said he already had the.
no there was
No,
there was
he said
okay there
Lewis
was
bought the
I
first
wasn't
season.
paying attention.
there was okay so part of the story that I have told is bullshit because
Well,
I
wait.
don't
Where did the
exactly
garden
remember.
gnome fall into it?
Wait, you came on here to tell lies, Lewis?
No,
Because the episode with Dan hasn't
This
come
is
out
a
yet.
podcast of
so
truth.
there was a garden gnome
Yeah,
that got mistaken for a real little person.
yeah.
That's
That's all true.
all based on the hat that happened to get misplaced.
Well,
then there's
yeah.
you buying the full set of DVDs at Circuit City, but that's suspect because Circuit City had already gone out of business by the time you did this.
Yeah.
So my
Okay,
whole world
so-
is a lie.
So hold on.
You
One
knew who's
fact,
behind this? Gene and Chuck, I bet.
one fact we do know is that it was 2002 to 2003 that we were living together.
Okay.
Okay, so the first season airing in 1999 had already been on DVD, right? So I believe I bought it at the Record Exchange, but it was all based on me watching one episode. Now, the part that I lied about was that I don't remember if Dan brought it up to me, if I brought it up to Dan, or if a third party showed both of us, and that's when we saw it.
I bet it
but
was that
I
goddamn
remember,
garden gnome.
I remember seeing it was the garden gnome who brought it up to us. That's what it was. I remember seeing an episode, episode.
If I'm going to say it.
Okay.
And
Episode in our house, and
or house.
apartment, and we watched one episode, and I fell in love with it, and I went out and bought the whole first season.
More
and
importantly
then
than
we just
this,
ad nauseum.
more importantly than this detailed story that Pete dragged out of you, what was it about this first episode? And if you don't remember specifically what episode it was, what was it about the spirit of the show that I don't have to wonder that? I'm asking to explain it to our listener.
Can we all say it on the count of three? Because we all know why.
No, I don't think I have like a
Counting
one word.
up to 3 or down from
okay.
three?
I was just going to be like 1, 2, 3, and then we all say why.
Oh,
we
okay.
think
All right.
Lewis-
Yeah. All right. On the count of three, we're all going to say, and Lewis included, why you loved this show so much that you went out and bought the DVDs. All right. Ready? On the count of, you do the countdown.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Gratuitous
Fry.
alien
Or the-
nudity.
Gratuitous nudity.
Oh, we all said different things. But really,
I
why?
think he was. I think he
It's
was
gratuitous
right, though.
alien nudity.
Yes. I think it was the pure fact that there was someone out there as nerdy as I am
Making
that-
a show like this?
that made a show
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
That's-
You know what I mean?
that was what I would thought.
It
Same
was,
here. I mean, that's my reason,
like,
too.
And you have to remember, in that time,
You're wearing
nerds were
onions
still
on your
not
belt
cool.
the
Yeah,
whole
we
deal.
didn't have a bunch of shows on Adult Swim or whatever
Right.
other channel
Yeah.
or on YouTube or all these like little
Nerds weren't cool. Cartoons were not necessarily for adults.
That point might have been like the nascent Adult Swim period, though. Like I think Aqua Teen Hunger Force was
right
probably on
before.
by 2002, 2003.
Okay, right around that.
It was
yeah.
right
Yeah.
before.
But you know what? Who was watching it? Like a very small percentage.
That was the
This-
beginning of the nerd
This
ascendance.
is the very beginning. Yeah.
I think Futurama maybe came out like a few years too early for like certain
Oh yeah.
people to
Yeah,
like,
it did.
really get into it.
yeah,
and
there's
that's
a-
why you're getting people that were fans like after the third season or whatever, and then going back
Yeah.
and watching the rest of it.
There's a lot of shows like that. I don't have any good examples, but there's a lot of shows that we like that were on for a season or two that had they have come out a few years later when because you had the big networks, you had a couple of you had your handful of cable channels that would have original shows, but at the same time, it's not like now where instead of trying to get the Cheers audience, trying to get we got to make the show 1 billion people have to watch it or it's going to get canceled. Now it's like, oh no,
Right.
there's so many streaming sites like
It might make sense to start a podcast about a show that's 17
Exactly.
years old
That, like, 5
and
people
wasn't
listen
all
to,
that
whatever,
popular to
you know,
begin
like-
with.
Who would ever do that?
Bunch of damn morons. Speaking of that particular show that this particular show is about,
Cheers.
no, that's
Frasier.
that's
I was
Jeff
thinking
Tate's
Three's
podcast.
Company.
Come on. Good.
We'll
good,
get there.
Mr. Roper.
I like this episode much better
Pete,
than the
we're
last
getting
one.
so close to the singularity you've been talking about. When I thought about this episode, I was like, oh, no, that's the Titanic one. I don't want to watch that. And I was talking to Lewis, your brother, Sean, about it. And he's like, oh, no, it has this, and this in it. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good episode. And then I looked ahead a couple episodes, and I'm like, oh, we're about to get into, like, some really...
The real
yeah.
bang for the buck
Now-
episodes.
See, I think this episode was the first of the mock episodes
Where they started doing big references or big
Right.
homages to
homages to
So
things.
what-
movies or
I
TV
forget
shows
which
or-
one of you usually does the general description. Is that Tommy or
It's my job now, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes.
This episode is about basically the professor. They all go on a company vacation on a spaceship known as the Titanic. And Zap Brannigan's in it. My favorite part is right at the beginning when he says the Titanic and just that ominous tone.
There's something
That was one of the funny things at the very beginning too. In the cold open, where the professor's like, "To reward you for my countless violations of safety and minimum wage."
yeah, that was great.
Because I've never actually gone on a company vacation. I have to go on one. It's not really a vacation, like it's a
Retreat.
it's
Yeah,
sort of a
retreat.
retreat.
I've done that
in
too,
In
yeah.
a couple months, I'm going to Dallas for one of these, and I mean, on the one hand, I'm looking forward to it, but on the other, I'm sure it's fraught with peril.
Yeah,
You know,
like
one way or-
Cannibal
I don't think the DoubleTree in Dallas is going to get crashed into a bunch of stuff or sink into the ground. But
Are you
Then
going?
you're not.
You never know.
Vacationing hard enough.
that's right.
Are you going to Cannibal?
No.
Okay.
They go to Cannibalon, but Bender comes back all ravaged too. Were there robot cannibals
Right.
on
Question.
it, or
Yeah.
was it
That's a great
humans?
question.
Or,
Yeah.
'Cause
That's a Pete question. Are you sure you don't have his notes by accident?
Oh, I have lots of continuity.
Hey, oh yes, thank
issues
God.
on
Those-
this episode.
You mean the kind that can be edited out, right?
Probably. The thing that I loved about the credits this time is I still couldn't place what the weird cartoon was.
It was kind
Other
of
was
a
gonna
crazy
ask
other
you
than
about that.
being a weird child
Yeah.
in a spacesuit. But if you watched it closely enough, it was actually one of those cartoon shows from the 60s that provided the basis for all the Robert Smigel jokes when he was writing for Conan, where they would cut out the lips in a picture.
Oh, was
and
it?
then,
Really?
Yeah. So it was a still frame, and then there was real lips moving.
Those bits
in the
on
middle of
Conan
that.
in the
Oh, wow.
mid '90s, early '90s, actually. Well, yeah, I was like junior high school were so important to me, and just my comedy
Robert
fandom
Smigel
growth,
as
you know?
Bill Clinton
Oh,
was
yeah.
just insane.
Just go. Woo!
We didn't get to the Conan reference last episode. The Hooker Bot 5000 was a reference to Late Night with Conan
Was
O'Brien
it?
skit.
I didn't even.
for,
Oh, see, I'm ashamed of myself
I can't remember now. It was in my notes
for this
last
and many
week, but
reasons.
So
I guess. Anyways.
So can
No.
I ask how many cold openings they do?
This was
Because
not a cold opening. This was one of the first ones that did not. There was no
Oh
cold
yeah,
opening.
there was.
This was
they
Well, this is part
so
of the
far
story,
they've done
I guess.
a lot of them. You know,
Sort
did
of
they
a
get away from that
pre-credits
later?
But
scene.
this is, I mean, in my recollection, they only did a handful of this.
They did not do it.
Pre.
That's what I'm saying. Did they, like, stop after a while?
Credits thing.
That was probably
This
Isn't that a cold opening?
It sounds like Tom
no,
has the answer.
that's
If you
when
just
it-
let him talk.
yeah. Tom.
First of all, this one did not have a cold opening. It had the credits. Then they started with them coming back.
Not on the DVD.
Oh,
Not on Netflix.
what
I
is
don't
it?
think
Tell
either.
me. Tell
No,
me.
it is
'Cause I
on-
watched the DVD.
On the DVD.
It is
on the DVD.
Netflix.
On the
Remind me.
DVD that I got in 2003 when I was living with Dan.
Very important. Yeah.
It has the all the way. I'm going. You know, we came from Cannibal on all the way to Titanic. That sounds nice. Is all before the credits.
And then the credits. I feel like that's the
which is
version I
how
saw too. I mean, it was
take
the
my
DVD.
notes in chronological order,
Yeah,
and I
me
have
too.
stuff before the credits. So it
Oh,
must
actually,
have happened
So
that
do
way.
I, because I have 21 to 24 written down when he's talking about when Fry is saying.
Oh yeah.
And then filmed on location, which is the credits.
I take back
right.
my assertiveness in Tom's favor because he's wrong.
That's okay. I'm used to both of you guys being wrong. Like you don't even have to point it out.
It's
Well, they,
like
they
everybody
go
gets
to
it.
the South Street Spaceport. Now, I was just at
South
the
Street-
South Street Seaport in New York, but
So is that a reference to
fancy
New York
pants.
then?
well,
They're
it's,
in
it's
New New
yeah,
York.
they're in New York, so they have that. But this would have been, I guess it wouldn't matter because it's New York. But this was done before the Twin Towers came down, and that's actually
Right.
just it's a few blocks away from that.
It's almost like it's 3 years before the
Yeah.
Give or
I-
take.
I
2
Two.
years. I'm sorry, 2 years. Yeah.
Based on IMDb, this episode aired September 26, 1999.
Okay.
That was my birthday.
No way.
Yeah, I would have been 24 years old.
Oh,
And,
happy birthday. Pete.
Hey, steal my identity, somebody.
In conjunction with that, Titanic actually came out in 1997. So this was already 2 years old.
I was wondering about that. Titanic was probably still in the theaters at that point.
Oh, it was.
Well, it was
I
the
think
end
it
of
still is.
2007. It was at the end of 2007. I
I think they're
remember
still waiting to
because,
see how much it makes.
because I remember it coming out during winter, and you know those things always come out right before like winter break or whatever.
You always want to see a movie about dying on an ice floe in the middle of the Arctic.
God damn it, guys! You are right.
Tom's watching the episode.
I had
right
to pull
now.
up the episode because I
I
swear to
didn't
God,
even realize.
I thought it was.
I knew you were on some kind of.
I was on a mission because I
information
thought
hunt
I
there,
was
yeah.
right.
And then you meet the captain of the Titanic, and lo and behold,
That's
it's Zapp
why.
Brannigan.
That was one of the things that your brother was like. This is a Zapp Brannigan episode. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
So you
yeah,
know
he
hijinks
this is when
will
he starts
ensue.
having great lines. Like he starts to really.
But I want to be the one who brings this up.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, they
Is it about how much you miss Phil Hartman?
Oh God, yeah.
No,
you know that
No,
Philip J. Fry
It's
is named
been long
for
enough
Phil Hartman,
that
okay?
you know he's been on enough episodes at this point
I
in the
didn't know
podcast
that.
Yeah, Philip J. Fry was named for Phil Hartman.
Oh my God.
Because he was such a friend of Matt Groening that Matt Groening changed the name of Phil
Fry's character.
Fry's
Wow.
character to for Philip J. Fry.
That's making me really misty-eyed.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not know,
I
that either,
it's-
and that's
it's- yeah,
getting
that's
me
crazy,
right here.
right? But no, I wanted to be the one to mention that they throw Leonardo DiCaprio's head at Titanic because this shows that the people of the year 3000 know about Titanic,
Oh,
right? So
Or they don't.
or they don't, but there's something later that happens that also references
What is it? What's the
that,
other?
comets, the icebergs of the sky.
See, but that was just a
Yeah.
That's a
throwaway,
plot
like a
device.
dumb line for us
Right.
to enjoy. That Zapp Brannigan's an idiot, you know, and that he would call it that. It's
Right, but I mean, he could have called it anything.
I mean,
that.
I think it's more along the lines of them christening the boat that Zap says he's
With
going to
champagne.
fly her brains out,
They-
but with Leonardo DiCaprio's head.
They
His
also
very young head.
They also wanted Leonardo DiCaprio in this episode, and
You
he
wouldn't do it?
declined. So they used
Well,
him
I mean,
to.
He's too cool.
You know, regardless of the writing,
He's allowed to
I
be.
think
He seems pretty cool.
I think the idea of this, I think the idea of regardless of, we know that there are people who lived in the year 1999 that were writing this, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
The fact is that if we are analyzing this show as a drama that happens in the year,
That's my job.
3000,
We'll do it later.
No,
Right?
but you're right about the first one. I
but
agree with that.
you know, I mean,
Why would the mayor have Leonardo DiCaprio sign if it wasn't related?
The whole joke at the
He could
opening,
have just grabbed somebody out of the Museum of Heads.
Yeah, but that's
or they could have thrown a piece,
That's less
a
random than-
champagne at it.
yeah.
could have
that's
been
less,
James Cameron's head.
That's what I'm saying. But
Right.
It would be the same. That's less random than Zap talking about comets being the icebergs of the sky. That's it's too specific.
There's also a whole other episode of Futurama that deals with a Titanic type ship.
So
It's
they ran out of
the-
ideas early.
No, it's actually the episode.
You're the one who always says spoilers. I
no,
mean,
we're
come
over
on.
that.
I love that
Tom's-
Zap is immediately on Tallulah like white on rice though with his the subtle waltz of seduction knocking very sensual boots.
very
You
sensitive.
know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's just he's so guileless. He's just really
He
like
does
the
have
lack of
really good
self-awareness
lines.
is really beautiful. But then the fact that he completely doesn't remember Fry. Like he
Yeah.
imprisoned Fry on
It's
his
like
ship
Mr. Burns
before.
not
Wait.
remembering Homer for every
Yeah.
episode. Like
we have to talk about the
Yeah.
visual gag of Leela not knowing which guy to
looks
be
back and
her,
forth.
Oh, so
her
good.
boyfriend.
That weird looking alien, the 200-year-old
old man,
guy.
I always wish it was Zoidberg. poor.
And then we get to
Zoidberg.
meet La Barbara.
Hermes.
I didn't know that Hermes had a wife.
That visual gag reminded me of when they were trying to pick the captain, and Fry's eating cereal, and he's pointing to himself, and he's like, he's going back and forth.
I actually did a tiny bit of research at the end of the episode because I wanted to check on a couple credits.
Yeah.
La Barbara is played by Dawn Lewis,
Right.
who was Jaleesa on A Different World, and also composed the theme song for that show with Bill Cosby. So that's
Wow.
a downer.
Oh wow! So the retiree people of the assisted living nebula were defeated by Zap Brannigan.
Which most episodes most episodes that he's on, there's some tale of him unheroically defeating some cowardly, like weak group of people, like
It's
I
just a
can't
matter
think of
of
it.
knowing their kill limit.
yeah. That was the earlier one with the sending wave after
the
wave of
killbots.
wave of men at
Did you notice that when they get into the professor's like suite in first class and everything like that, Zoidberg actually gets to have live in
Oh, yeah.
like stay in
Which-
first class?
Yeah, I don't think at this point I don't think we're finding out that they all don't like him, that
No,
he's the boob
they-
or whatever.
like Hermes
don't-
was
but-
so mean to him last episode.
Yeah, we were
But why did
just
Zoidberg
getting a
get to
taste of
stay
that,
in
though.
first class? Because I
Because-
thought they all got thrown into.
I think at this point there was still. This is just my theory.
The Fiesta
there's
deck.
No, I have nothing to back this up. I feel like we're at a point where that character's development is. He's the doctor that the professor hired. We don't know that we know he's a bad doctor, but we don't know that he's a bad doctor all around, or that he's a doofus or whatever. Like it's not really
Everything
spelled
that
out
has
yet.
happened with him is he's been a doofus in the entire so far. They
Most of
just
the
make
time, he
fun
just
of
made
him.
some like cutting
and
remarks, He
or
hasn't-
just
I mean, it could be
stupid remarks about Fry being a human and all.
Yeah,
his-
we found out he's not good at human medicine, but other than that,
So
That's what I think. That's-
the
I'm
first of my
sticking
comments
to it.
about Bender and his unrealistic physicality. He sees the Countess. His eyes telescope out.
Right.
Okay, that's great.
They
Then
drop-
they fall out completely, and they're like, like ivory tubes or something. Like it doesn't make
sounds like
bulbs.
light bulbs.
Yes.
Yeah, like bulbs.
Yeah.
but they don't break.
No,
They're
never
probably
break.
made of some pretty strong stuff.
They fall out a lot.
Yeah.
They fall out a lot.
They're future
That
glass.
seems like
yeah.
construction.
Gorilla Glass,
problem.
man. Gorilla Glass.
So, question: have you guys yet discussed Zoidberg's race?
No. Other than that,
No, there's that whole episode about it.
Okay,
and
yeah,
then more about his
I know you'll
origins.
get to it.
Yeah,
I know you'll get to it.
But why do you ask?
other than that, they
so-
didn't hire a real lobster person to play him, which is another.
So-
we can talk about whitewashing later in the episode. I think we have an opportunity for that.
That's racist, Pete. Go ahead, Lewis.
Speaking
That's
about
racist
race-
too, but you can continue.
Speaking about race,
When they go down through the decks, and you have like
the Irish.
steerage, and it's like totally traditional Irish,
dancing.
but then it keeps
Like the movie.
descending.
And the steerage.
And
the
they
steerage.
Yeah, then they get into
Yeah,
of
steerage,
course.
and then they go into like the
Laundry.
engineering deck, and
bowels of the ship.
and it's all
So it
shirtless
goes-
lumberjacking guys.
It goes second class,
Which is like the family cruise
yeah.
class.
right?
Steerage,
Steerage, laundry, bowels of the ship,
Then the
Fiesta,
Fiesta.
deck.
Fiesta deck.
I like that the laundry was a whole deck of just clothes being washed. Like, it wasn't a bunch of washing machines. It
The
was just
Fiesta
one-
deck looked like the apartment that Fry and Bender looked at that was underwater back in
yeah,
iRobot.
yeah.
But it
you know,
was-
it's that same sort of thing.
but it was
the,
in New
leaky
Jersey.
the
with the
reactor
reactor exhaust.
The reactor
Reactor
exhaust is being held
exhaust.
back by like a
Yeah.
paper
And it says
window
stand-
shade.
I think it says stand back or
Pete, you were
Yeah.
going to bring up Hermes' wife in this. You didn't know he had a wife. She becomes a reoccurring character. This is another episode. We meet a couple reoccurring characters.
So this universe. Oh, and the Wongs.
Yeah, that we meet Amy's parents and
is this the
Hermes'
first
wife.
Wongs? Is this the first episode?
Yeah,
of Wongs?
first
Yes.
one with
Okay.
her parents.
Because I was wondering about that.
Amy goes to fill up on bisque.
Yeah,
right,
her-
which later that fat guy puts his fingers into.
Yes.
the same bisque.
which you have to wonder if he was doing that before. Too.
Right,
That's
exactly.
pretty gross.
Which I thought of.
Hermes' backstories.
But I was going to bring up Hermes' backstory.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let me say this real quick, and then
Why don't you host this show?
Before you get to the, are you talking about the limbo thing?
I was just going to mention. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to Hermes in general.
Before we
There's-
get to that, house limits only 3 do-overs.
Yes, I wrote it down.
That is my favorite joke of the entire.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness!
that was
I'm so
Gwen
glad
Bender
you
That
said
was a
is,
that.
that was a good Futurama joke.
I am so.
I liked
glad
how
you
there
said
was a
that 'cause
pause, and I
yeah.
just said that.
Yeah, thanks for
God,
making
I'm
us
so
all
glad.
wait for
I'm checking that off my
for a
list.
pretty good joke.
Also,
his cheating unit malfunctioned.
my cheating unit
Yeah, that was good, yeah.
malfunctioned.
Yeah, but the-
Also, Isaac.
Oh yeah, that was
Everyone
good.
knows
yeah.
what that's a reference
And it's funny
to.
because it's from the Love Boat, but just that I didn't realize that i products were out, that Apple products were being called iThings back then. I don't think I had an iPod until this is 1999. I probably got an iPod maybe in like 2002.
No, this is
That's a
probably-
good question.
No,
Actually,
I think
that's
the
a great
iPods-
question.
I don't think iPods came out until 2001. This is probably still
Okay.
referencing iMacs.
That's very true.
Oh.
That's very true. Yeah, yeah.
So this,
Oh,
I mean, I
man.
think the first one came
Did you
out
hear
in
how
like,
nerdy my O was? I was like, oh, really? What a great nerd
I think
fact.
version 1 of the iMac came out in 96, 97. Then when that was just the blue and white one. And then the second iteration was the one with all of the colors. And that would have been around 99.
Speaking of
Yeah, that-
have you seen
The big they have like the blue and the pink
Yeah, like the
and
cathode,
yeah.
is like a basically a monitor.
that was
you-
the first intonation of like the eye
Yes.
thing that people.
Have you seen the slowed down videos of Jeff Goldblum? He did
Yeah, I
ads
saw-
for
yeah.
those iMacs.
Okay.
And someone just took them and put them at half speed, and it's Jeff
It's
Goldblum
funny.
speaking, but he does the Jeff Goldblum speak, but half speed. It sounds like he's completely drunk. And it is just the funniest thing you will ever watch on the internet. I guarantee it.
If I had a chance to go talk to Isaac, I would also order your biggest, cheapest, strongest drink. That's kind of what I do anyway. Bender was really going after my own heart with that.
So let's talk about the Countess de la Roca.
Wait. Put a pin in that real quick. Tom had to tell us all his favorite joke from the show. I wanted to say real quick about Hermes. One of the reasons that I like his character so much is that I feel like they had this blank slate. It's like, here's this character. He's a
Bureaucrat.
the bureaucrat. and he is Jamaican, and then he's already like a random character, and then everything they add to his backstory, and I don't know if this is what you were going to say too, Lewis, is so random, but then they have to run with it. Like his wife, later his kid, his limbo thing comes back later. Like,
well, it's interesting you should say that. I had a note on.
I don't know if I'd use the word interesting, but go ahead.
Okay,
Lewis
well,
seems interested.
I'll make this as uninteresting as possible.
Oh, please.
It's free. But
that's why I'm doing this.
Hermes obviously is a Greek god, and he.
By the way, Hermes' original name was Dexter.
Oh,
on the
really?
show. Mhm.
Didn't know that. Hermes is the god of trade, border crossings, messenger of the god, and sports and athletes.
Oh, okay.
So
Hermes
Hermes was in
He's the one with the
Olympics,
little wings on his shoes, right? With the on his ankles, right?
he's
But
Mercury.
if he was in the Olympics, if Hermes was in the
Mm-hmm.
Olympics, then that's obviously a reference to Hermes the god, because
So they were taking
Hermes
his name
was
and
the god
adding that
of
to his
Olympics.
character. Like,
right.
I didn't.
Right,
I
so-
didn't, that's good. I didn't
Isn't
think
he
so.
the god of burning itch too? Oh, that's herpes. I'm sorry.
Well played, Tom.
I did not expect that.
Speaking of itches, when they
So-
go to the deck and Zap and Kip are talking, I've got the captain's itch, which I'd really like to see the captain's itch play out as some other thing. But when he replots the course to fly through the comet field, which
is where he
the
says
icebergs
the
of the sky,
icebergs of the sky.
I had to make a note that Kif makes the best grunts. Like his
Oh,
noises.
you feel it in your in the
yeah,
bottom of your
he's-
soul. Like it's just his pain and his drudgery of being.
So why does
that
he stay in
blowhards.
servitude with Zap?
Because he's a soldier and he's a good soldier.
He is because he's loyal.
Yeah.
It's exactly like if Spock hated Captain Kirk, but just followed
Yeah,
order
he
because
would-
he's loyal and like logical. So he
But wouldn't it be
just does
illogical to, follow a
No,
buffoonish blowhard?
not in
Not in the military.
not
That's
in the
a different-
military.
have
You
to- chain
follow
of command.
your chain of command.
Did you say blow heart or blow hard?
I said blowhard.
After Zap Brannigan decides to reroute the leisure cruise, that's when we meet
Which I love that map.
Amy Wong's parents.
Wait, real quick. What does Zap say? He said that's a coward's route or something like that. What's
No,
his-
no. That's
It doesn't have a.
Oh no, he needs
his
a
line?
route with more chest hair.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I love that line.
with
Yeah.
some chest hair.
So Mr. and Mrs. Wong.
Leo and
Which-
Inez.
Which brings
Leonez
in
Wong.
The whitewashing because
the
Billy
sitcom
West
trope. No, the sitcom trope.
because Billy West does Mr. Wong's voice. And again,
Can you guys get over it? Like seriously.
It's a cartoon.
I'm
Dude,
just
we're getting
asking.
on it. We're getting on it.
Clearly-
It's 2016. I'm getting on
Clearly,
everything.
there were no
All female
Asian
Ghostbusters
actors that were able to do voiceover in 1999. Not
this
counting
was
the
true.
fact.
No. Wait a minute.
Amy
wait a minute.
Wong's voice is she's an Asian American.
Yeah, as so is her mother because they're both played by Lauren Tom.
But this is before the whole. We need celebrities in cartoons.
Dude, we're talking about racial sensitivity.
Yes, and I am trying to get away from it.
Charlton Heston played a Mexican in Touch of Evil. Come on, guys. It's time to talk about these things. It's time to talk about them. We're bringing it to the forefront. All right? That's what this podcast is about. It's not even about Futurama.
They're
Not to me.
committing early on. That's the point.
Maybe Billy West identifies with no race.
So it brings in the whole
West.
sitcom trope, which
Of?
does come in. They do a few later on, but sitcom trope of a
Say it one more time. I dare you.
troop.
No, you're saying it right. You just said it too many times.
Fry is put in the middle of being a boyfriend to Leela and Amy.
He's
But I
effectively
love
on a
that it's
date with
aware
two
of
different
itself.
women.
You know?
That's a show. What's it
Right.
called? Three's Company.
Three's
That's
Company
what
has
they've-
nothing to do. Three's Company
Are you kidding? You must have written that down. Three's Company.
Yes, I did. But
I did too. So did
Three's
I.
Company wasn't about a fake love triangle.
Yeah, it
No.
was all the time.
Three's Company was about
Every other episode.
John Ritter. John Ritter, as Jack Tripper,
Yeah.
pretended to be gay in order to be a roommate
to the landlord. There were so many
to
other
Chrissy
situations
and
amongst
Janet.
their friends and their peers where he wasn't pretending to be gay. He was just him. And there were a bunch of episodes where he had to pretend to be so-and-so, so okay, whatever. The episode where he wears the cowboy hat to play
It's
his cousin.
also Fry thinking that his situation is a Three's Company situation.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the funny part about it, because it actually really isn't.
exactly.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
But it's such a sitcom, though. I mean, it
It is,
really is.
exactly.
No, it's-
and that's the point
you
of it.
could,
That's
have
the
you guys,
essence
wait,
of
have
it.
you guys brought up that it's kind of like a sitcom trope?
I haven't heard that phrase before.
I really.
Hey, Hershey, what's that name of that restaurant that has all the things on the wall?
Sitcom tropes. Crazy.
I
Uncle-
actually
flaming
thought-
feed bag.
Number one, we should take a minute of silence for the
John Ritter, absolutely.
no, for the 2980 Olympics kid that tried to imitate Hermes and he died.
Because it was too low.
That backcracking
just
sound
too
was great.
When they are on deck doing the limbo, Zoidberg's floral moo. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a moment when Fry and Leela were about to kiss, and they panned out and they saw all the other couples. Zoidberg was with a character,
Like a jellyfish woman.
right, that was actually in the Miss Universe contest later
Yeah.
on.
She's also a nurse in a lot of episodes.
I feel like we're still allowed to do Jamaican accents, and it's not racist. Would you guys agree? You can't do an Asian accent anymore.
He
It
still
depends.
didn't.
I
he-
think so, Mon.
he
Yeah,
still.
I mean, I feel like you could be like, "Hey, I'm on the beach, man," and other
but
ones.
Hermes, the
Well, this is 1,000 years in the future. Hermes
Phil,
is really enlightened.
what's Phil Lamar is Hermes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, from Mad
He
TV.
still
And
has
Pulp
not
Fiction.
fleshed out his accent for
Marvin.
Hermes, though.
No. And that's another one of the notes I took when I did my research. Phil Lamar was Marvin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you take that note?
Because I was looking up the IMDb credits to figure out who was who.
Oh.
I thought Fry also played Isaac, in which case it would have been a double whammy on the whitewashing. But it wasn't. I think it was Phil Lamar.
Do you have anything in your notes about after Bender confesses to the Countess that he is not rich?
About the
his-
magnet?
The magnet?
The magnetic bow tie not making him crazy? Absolutely.
Oh,
His neck,
I
dude.
didn't think
His
about
neck.
that.
Yeah, how do we both
Neck
miss
and
that,
below.
Lewis? Wow.
Neck
Yeah.
and below. It's his head that has his
yeah, Tom's
inhibition
right.
unit in
that
there.
tracks.
It
yeah.
is
This is
holds water.
every time that happens, it's somewhere
Another
above his
colloquial.
Are
nose.
you okay? So going back to the episode on the moon when he gets picked up by the magnetic dolly, is it on his head or is it on his back?
which is the last.
It's a
episode
super
I
strong
saw.
electromagnet. It's on his entire body.
Doesn't matter because
No, it does.
A
because it's a
refrigerator
super
magnet,
strong
a
electromagnet.
refrigerator magnet on his head
head.
made him crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's where
on
it
his
is.
head.
So
You would not
It's the
need-
amount of magnetism that can affect his inhibition unit in his head. The inhibition unit is in his head.
You
So-
can't
Hey,
see it right now on the podcast.
that's fine,
'cause it's
but
an
he
audio,
had magnetic
but I'm
wings
holding
that
up
stuck onto
a
his back
picture
in the
of
last
magnetism
episode
with little waves
that
going
were
at
strong
Bender's
enough
head
to
for
stay
Pete
on his
that I
body,
drew on an etch-a-sketch
make
really
him
quickly.
fly, carrying two other bodies. I don't buy it. I think it's lazy
They bring
storytelling.
that up in the commentary of the episode. The like Matt Groening and
I think you're just
David X.
saying
Cohen. No, they really do bring it up, and they've said
Good
that
podcast high five, Lewis.
his neck
Yeah,
it doesn't
thanks.
affect that, and it's a small enough magnet. But I figured you would do that.
So
Also,
Absolutely.
So if we're going to talk about robotic inconsistencies,
when he draws Countess naked and she's a schematic.
Yeah, that was
Kinda
great.
sexy.
right. So I wondered
Recycled
about that,
joke.
and I could not
Great,
find
great joke.
what that schematic was.
Oh, you looked it up.
That's Tom's
tried-
job, and he
yeah,
probably didn't do it.
I really tried to find that, and obviously it was a electronic schematic of some
It could
sort.
just
but
be. I mean, it could be garbage.
Gobbledygook.
Really, yeah.
You really
it's the
think
schematic
that
of
these
Zach Delaroche
guys,
from Rage Against the Machine.
My favorite line.
Why do they
Tom,
kiss?
The robots?
Sometimes
Yeah.
robots do that.
Well, okay. So he
No.
says that
I like that you guys all were just like, I said sometimes robots do that, and you guys were like, all right, acceptable, Lewis.
Yeah.
Because he's just
Yeah,
a poor,
so-
lazy, sexy fraud.
which is the name of one of the chapters on the DVD for this episode.
Poor,
Is
lazy,
what,
sexy
really?
fraud.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't
Yeah.
notice the chapter titles.
When they went to the captain's dinner, I love that the menu was all you can eat plus a whole chicken,
Oh, yeah, that was great. That
which
was
is
great.
basically
All right.
my dream.
Okay, so everybody got to say one of their favorite lines. Here's mine. I thought, you were dating Amy. She's got two eyes. You've got two eyes. Yeah, we seem like the perfect match. Just a great fry.
But yet he says that's a very romantic nebula. Oh, I mean platonic. So how does Fry even know the word platonic if he's that stupid?
No,
Dude,
we
it's-
talk about this in a lot of episodes, how Fry will go back and forth between being the most
For
stupid.
the sake of comedy.
Yes,
Because
person.
you know what?
Also,
Have you met me? That's my whole life. Every
Now-
day.
now-
This is actually episode
of
10
that-
is the first one I didn't have a note that said Fry is so dumb. Arguably, it could go in after he says the Three's Company line,
Yeah,
but I
no.
feel like that's stretching. Like
Oh,
this is
little. All right.
this is the first episode
where he didn't have a great
where
dumb Fry line. Yeah,
But
yeah.
what's the when I say Fry is so dumb, it doesn't even have to be dumb lines. It's just like him doing something so incredibly stupid or not making connections. So it's like
that wasn't part of his for the vehicle of
MO?
this plot. That wasn't part of who his character needed to be for this. He was supposed to be
Modus
this
operandi.
tool that was being used for this love triangle fun fiasco.
it also brings like the first time that Fry and Leela have shown a connection, which actually
The first
will
up until
continue
now, 'cause
throughout
up until now,
the
it's been
series.
she's his boss basically.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he hasn't expressed any real interest in her except maybe like a couple little jokes. This is where the Sam and Diane thing that goes on for what 7 seasons or 8 seasons or whatever, of.
I
Fry and
know
Leela,
it's
which
just
is-
a cartoon, Tom.
which is what I think.
But Leela is smoking hot
she is smoking.
with
out.
Very
with
true.
with Katie Seagal's voice, and just
I'm telling
she's
ya.
such a bad
Google
ass
Rule
woman.
34, Leela. You'll find some good things on there. The Countess sacrifices herself for Bender.
Yeah.
Telling Bender
Why?
he has so much to live for, who is just this poor, cheating, lying
Yeah.
robot.
He's got friends though.
And he's got shareware.
No, they both have shit.
I mean, really, why couldn't
All
she
robots
just
have
upload
that was a
her
great reference
personality
to that.
into
Yeah, that
something?
time period.
I mean, again, I like the flipping of the Titanic storyline where instead of the man nobly letting himself freeze to death, where there was room on that door. She was just selfish. But, the woman is saved by the noble hero. This is a vice versa where
I didn't even think of that. That is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
we also didn't talk about at all Zap Brannigan's
what?
whole thing in this entire episode of just doing everything to make this ship crash, and every
Which
time
is
you're
his-
like,
every time he's
this-
in an episode, it's
but it's every time it's like, okay, he's doing this, and this is what's going to cause that to
Yeah.
happen. Something changes, like when he
And then
goes
he
to-
makes the next thing worse.
The comets. The comets and the iceberg of the sea are like, oh, you're gonna get
Yeah.
hit by comets. No, he steers it off into a black hole.
yeah. That blackish hole
And
thing.
that's Zap Brannigan. I think is like one of the best parts of this episode.
I forgot that. I thought that the Amy Kiff thing happened later in a different way. Here is the first.
This is the seeds being sown.
Yeah, the very first little because that turns into a whole thing that carries on through a lot of episodes.
and this was supposed to be a joke,
Yeah, it was
just
just
in this
supposed to be a-
episode
yeah,
because
just
he's
that.
he's
And then-
captain
but
because
that's the
Zap
great thing
Brannigan
about-
took off in that little
But they
space ship.
they introduce Amy's willingness to date other species pretty early on when
They
she's
also
at
show
the
you
hip
that
joint. and
Amy's
she-
a slut.
They
really.
She used to
I
be
don't-
fat when she was younger, and now
Oh,
she's
they
just
She's like a
tell
real
that later,
Schmidt
and then she
story.
just
and
kind of-
all
yeah.
her parents want are grandkids.
Yeah.
Clearly,
But they do show you that us we're watching this, we're like, oh, Kiff is this tiny little green guy or whatever, but it's the year 3000. There's so many different types of humanoids and aliens and people and everything that Kiff is a handsome dude apparently, like that we wouldn't recognize his type of attractiveness, but that Amy is open to that, and that
You know what?
that's
You know what? The
she's
story,
very progressive, at least. Tom, you called her a slut. That's all right. You could shame her if you want or whatever for having fun, Tom.
I'm not shaming her. She's what?
Let's
probably
just
early
refer to
I know,
20-year-old
Look,
girl.
she's
so
sex positive.
she is.
Yeah. Anyways,
So there
Lewis,
is-
thank you for being on the podcast.
Where
There
can
is
people
a-
find out
you
about
have
your
been a
artistic
delight.
There is
endeavors?
an
you
M
you
and
are
an E
you
in
are a
team.
music person, and you have
you
things
have an alter
available.
ego?
My alter ego is called X-Ray Burns.
And
Say
where
that one
would
more
we
time.
go?
Say that one time.
One more time.
X-Ray Burns.
No. Say my alter ego is X-Ray Burns.
My alter ego is called X-Ray Burns, and you can find him on Facebook.
Only Facebook.
And
Twitter, I'm X-Ray Alibi at X-Ray Alibi.
Bandcamp things, other things.
Bandcamp,
CDs?
yeah, iTunes, YouTube, X-Ray Burns.
Pornhub.
Can I just say real quick that your X-Ray Burns project sounds like Futurama?
All right.
Called X-Ray Burns. Look me up.
Look it up.
Buy my stuff.
Check out X-Ray Burns. You can check us out on Twitter at slurmcastpod. Same with the Instagram at slurmcastpod.
I like the way Chris Hardwick does it. You can find me on the Instagram and the tweets at slurmcastpod.
I don't know who
You
that
can
is.
email us
Sorry.
at slurmcastpod@gmail.com. We also have a telephone
And
number.
you can call us at 216
Something.
438-468.
Try 'em both.
1077. Try them both. You'll find it.
So here's our number. So call us maybe.
We'll post it. No one gets to the end of the podcast. We all know that.
No one gets to the beginning of this podcast. Thanks a lot, everybody.
What about you?
I've decided to give up on Twitter at rhorchie, RHQQ.
Someday you and I'll get credits, Tom. It'll be great.
Thanks, everybody. I've decided to give up on coming up with tagline. Thanks for listening. Bye. Don't forget to neuter and spay your pets.
I already stopped the recording.